Hello, guys and girls. Yeah, girls. I really like encouraging girls to learn programming because in my country, Cameroon, girls are not very into programming. I don't know why. Whereas it's a very good choice for future careers, software development, very important. Okay, so in our last tutorials, we actually talked about the various data types, and we started with we saw integers, we saw floating point numbers or real numbers, we saw strings, we saw booleans as the four basic types of data in Python. Okay, today we are going to focus on two of those types, that is actually integers and floats, that's floating point numbers or real numbers. Okay, let's start with the first type, integers. Like we said in the previous tutorial, integers are simply positive and negative whole numbers with 0 being included. So anything as 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 2, 0, all that, they are integers. Okay, and now to show to you that they are integers, or to see if a value entered is an integer, you can actually use a function. We'll come to functions later in our tutorials, but we actually use a function. That function, type bracket. So you use type. The type function actually returns the type, the data type of what is inside the brackets. So if I say type of 8, for example, it gives me class int. That means that 8 is of the class of integers, as we can see. We can do that similarly with strings. Should say type. Like I told you before, strings are put in quotes. It could be single quotes, it could be double quotes. That does not matter in Python. So I say type. Let's say hello world. You see, plus string. That just shows you that everything in Python that we put in between quotes is considered as a string. Okay, let's come back to integers. We said integers are positive and negative whole numbers, 0 included, don't forget. So what are the various things we can do on integers? 1, we can add integers. For example, 1 plus 2. I'm adding the integer 1 and the integer 2, and that gives me another integer 3. So basically adding 2 integers will give you another integer. Exactly. Now, like you said, integers also range. We have negative numbers included in integers. So I can say minus 3 plus 1. That should give us minus 2. Exactly. We can also multiply integers. Say minus 1 times 4. That gives us minus 4. We can divide integers. That's 8 divided by 2. That gives us 4.0. But now you'll notice that adding 2 integers will give you an integer. Adding multiplying 2 integers will give you an integer. Subtracting 2 integers will give you another integer. But dividing 2 integers will give you a floating point number in Python. That is why when we divided 8 by 2, it gave us 4.0. 4.0 is not an integer, but it is a floating point number or a real number. We will come to that in some seconds. So basically, integers support all of the 4 basic binary mathematical operations, which are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, in further lessons, we will come to the properties, advanced properties of integers. But for now, know that integers can support addition, represented by plus, subtraction represented by minus, multiplication represented by star, and division represented by a /. So in the next tutorials we are going to see more on integers. Now let us go to a whole new thing. Let's go to floating point numbers. This is also a way of representing real numbers. The computer cannot represent real numbers with absolute precision. That's why it implements a concept of floating point numbers. Now floating point numbers are simply numbers that can be written or that are written with a decimal point after. For example, 4.0, which is actually a floating point number. And to know the type of a data value, like I said before, we can use the type function. Now to see the difference between 4 and 4.0, we are going to use the type function. Okay, so I say type in bracket 4. It gives me class int, which means 4 is an integer, and then I'll take again the same type and write instead 4.0. You see, it gives me class float. Just to tell you that in Python or in any programming language, there's a difference between 4 and 4.0. 4 is actually considered as an integer, as we can see here, and 4.0 is considered as a floating point number, as we can see here. So floating point numbers are real numbers, like we said. Any number that can be written with the decimal points, like 4.7, like minus 3, minus 4.3, and so on. Those are floating point numbers. And similarly to real numbers, to integers, pardon, they can we can perform all the 4 basic mathematical binary operations on them, which are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So we can have 1.4 plus 2.3. That will give us 3.6999999. So like I said before, the computer cannot represent real numbers with absolute precision. That is why adding 1.4 and 2.3 gives us an approximate number. We will have expected 3.7 but the computer cannot represent that with absolute precision, so it gives us something like 3.666666. so what sorry, 3.69999. So that is it. So don't hesitate to do further tests on your own. Perform operations, try to add floating point numbers, multiply them, divide them, and you can even add integers and floating point numbers, but know that they will give you floating point numbers. So just do all those tests and you will see that you master the basics of integer and floating point number operations. So follow up for the next tutorials, because we are going to treat booleans and strings. So stay tuned.